Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I'm having technical difficulties. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels, and we're going back to that horrible world known as the JRC. But before we do the usual disclaimers, first off, because I'm running behind again, I apparently missed Kate Moss on the JD versus case, so I'm going to have to rewind that for later. Okay, now, folks, as you know, the JRC decided to target a small non for profit ran by Autistics for Autistics, due specifically to a 2021 article in which they interviewed over 900 ABA professionals in regards to the quote unquote behavior treatment program at the JRC. They don't want that article to be seen by anyone and want it removed. And because NeuroClastic would not comply, they decided to threaten them with a defamation lawsuit. NeuroClastic has concluded they will not comply, they will not be silenced, and god damn it, neither will we. So we got that article the JRC wants pulled and that they don't want you to read. Right there in the description box. Down at the bottom, we are crowdfunding them for litigation should JRC decide to see through their threat. So if you've got $1 to spare, folks, please, we need all the help that we can get, all right? Please share it on your social media. Let people know what's going on. We also have, as always, Autistic Hoya's massive archive on this subject. The 10 plates and the ever-present self-explanatory Change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. We recommend when talking about the JRC, you use the hashtags Stop the Sock and JRC Sue Me Too. Now, folks, when we talk about the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of and catch clips of surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you got young children present, please use your headphones, all right? And, folks, it is 8:30 a.m., and I've got to get over to see what's going on with the other case. I know that I'm behind in videos, but, folks, there's so much going on with the JRC right now that I've kind of left it to some of the bigger channels. I will come back to it, and I will especially be doing a closeout in regards to the effect this case is going to have on the disability community at large, probably towards the end of the trial coming up on my next following weekend here, all right? And folks, if I stumble over my words, apologies in advance, you know the drill. So going off to where we left last night, again, this is going to be quick here. The data is showing an increase in appropriate behaviors is used to substantiate the need for level 3 aversive behavior interventions. This statement is false. Really? Then why is it corroborated by all those survivors brave enough to stand forward? By the way, if you want to know what stunning and brave look like, look up Jennifer Masumba and the victims that have stood toe-to-toe with the bastards that used to torture her. It falsely implies that the JRC has placed its students in the Alternative Learning Center or small conference rooms to generate problem behaviors so that the JRC can justify seeking level 3. Actually, that's exactly what you do. And you want to know how you tell on yourselves, JRC? You talk about your quote-unquote behavioral rehearsal lessons. What are those lessons designed to do again? JRC, according to your own words, to generate those behaviors so that you can then punish them for them. And if they don't perform those behaviors during those lessons, you punish them. So, actually, New York is exactly right. But everybody lies but you, right? A student is placed in alternative learning center or small conference rooms for reasons of safety and not to artificially cause an increase in appropriate behaviors. Really? Explain your behavioral rehearsal lessons. Because as we know, folks, they get pulled aside and put in these small rooms or pulled out into the hallways in order for these lessons to take place. So, in actuality, JRC is literally grasping at straws here. Literally grasping at straws. But I digress. As soon as the student's behaviors improve, she is transferred back to a regular classroom. Sure, they are. With their devices still strapped to them, right? JRC has no reason to want to use level 3 procedures except to help the student improve his or her behaviors. Torturing is going to stop the behaviors, sure, as long as the threat is still around, but the underlying trigger problems that caused behavior are still there when you remove the devices. Logic would say that you would try to find out what's triggering, provide reasonable accommodations, or whatever is needed in order to at least bring down the number of incidents. But the JRC, they don't like to operate off of person-centered planning or fucking logic. So, there you are, I guess. Parents and school districts are even more satisfied and effusive about JRC when JRC can achieve treatment and educational success without adding adversives to the student's treatment program. How often does that happen? That's why JRC would take in people like me. People who have already beat themselves down to the point where they mask basically 24 fucking 7. Yeah, and then put us forward as the success stories, even though we were never put on the fucking device. Kind of like how a lot of school systems that are smaller will put forward their top students in order to get their rating. It's the same thing. If JRC can avoid having to go to court to request level 3 procedures, this is a feather in the JRC's cap. Bullshit. Bullshit. You rip away and destroy parents' rights and put those kids under a impartial quote-unquote guardian appointed by the court that you have in your back fucking pocket. And I'm supposed to believe you're actually happy when you don't use those devices? Then why are you using them? Seriously? That's like telling an abused child that it's their fault that they're being abused because this, and this. It's bullshit. It's victim blaming bullshit, and it's formed with fancy words to make it more palatable to the outside world. But if you take 2 seconds to try to tear this apart, it's not that difficult to do now, is it? JRC is proud of the fact that approximately 50% of its students do not require the use of the substituted judgment and aversives. Oh, but those that you separate and go quote-unquote severe functioning labels, it justifies their torture, and it justifies that separation where they're trying to make it us against them. They've been trying to divide us for years, folks, and when it didn't fucking work, well, they're going to try with our parents. They'll get them autistic kids under control. I'm going to say this, and I have it on good authority that I'm allowed to do so. This is coming straight from my mother, JRC. Just saying. 15. Not for analysis to determine alternative forms of intervention. The purpose of placing a student in an alternative learning center or small conference room is not to enable an analysis of the student's behaviors. Even though it says in your fucking book you use those small rooms to do an analysis of their behaviors. Do you read your own shit before you put stuff out? Our functional analysis relies primarily on an in vivo ongoing functional analysis that is continuous throughout the student's enrollment, no matter which JRC setting student is in. The paragraph 10 below for explanation on how JRC does its functional analysis. Oh, we're going to save that for another day because I'm going to enjoy, as someone who works in the field, to rip this into fucking shreds piece by motherfucking piece. But that's what they do, folks. They stick them in rooms. They do their bizarre behavioral lessons in order so they can shock them again. They make them earn every bite of food. And the only way you can get out of this punishment, in which they can throw you back into at any time with no fucking warning, is that you act like a goddamn robot or a perfect quote-unquote normal neurotypical. Remember, normal doesn't even exist really out in the real world. You see these so-called fucking normal people, these neurotypicals. I've been an observant person my entire life since I was a little girl. People thought I was quiet and shy, but what I was actually doing was observing the people around me, observing their behaviors. A lot of times I would actually integrate some of it into my mask so I wouldn't be singled out and targeted. It worked with adults, not so much with kids, but neither here nor there. I've always been very observant and just a people watcher, for lack of a better term. Kind of watching them, getting into their heads a little bit. They're just as fucking nuts as the rest of us. God, just being around this JD versus AH trial wants to send me screaming right back into the arms of disability and autistic Twitter and not peek my head out for another decade. The neurotypical need to butt themselves into other people's relationships. The neurotypical this thing that's almost automatic to assume things about other people's relationships. The need to be like, well, they should be together or they shouldn't be together drives me fucking nuts. Neurotypicals have this thing, and it's not all of you, but it's a good chunk of you, where you want to insinuate things that are not necessarily there. Put people together, God knows why. They'd be a hot couple. Do y'all know how insane you sound? Coming from an autistic, do you know how insane it sounds that you are wrapped up so much in other people's lives that you like to insinuate romantic relationships into a couple of individuals who might just be fucking friends? To me, that's crazy. To me, you should be a little bit more focused on your own life and your own relationships as opposed to trying to think about who's fucking who. Y'all not right. I'm just saying, some of the stuff you guys do just seems completely bonkers to me. I don't mean to be mean, but I've tried to understand that mentality my whole life. The concept of rumors, the concept of trying to wheedle your way into other people's lives instead of living your own. This weird social gossip thing, and I've never comprehended or understood it. And now as I gotten older, I really don't want to. But that not being neither here nor there. My point is, normal doesn't even exist in the real world. And on that note, I'm going to go ahead and close out this morning. We don't get very many views on this channel, especially on this subject. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, and don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.